23 countries, about 35 offices. We have, it says 535 employees there. That was written 2 weeks ago. I think it's more like 600 now. Half of those are software developers in Copenhagen. So the product, we're very much a product-led company. There's no investors, 2 shareholders, 2 brothers own it, so they can reinvest in product all the time. That's what they do. They completely let the product lead the growth of the company. And really, what we like to say is we try to make complicated things easier. What we started with was a BIM viewer, a 3D viewer. And on the back of that, we built out information management tools, on-site management tools, and FM tools. So it was all built on the back of our 3D viewer, but it's not reliant on it. But that's really where we came from. And that's the core of our product suite. I think I've probably gone enough about Dalux at the moment. I'll get into the real AI stuff in a minute. But I get paid to talk about Dalux, so that's what I had to do for a minute. So AI in construction, this is the reality of it. This is what we all expect from it. This is what we all want, and this is what we're all led to believe. You take a site, you add AI, you get a building. Isn't it brilliant? Is that where we're going? Of course it's not. That's not the reality of it. So I don't know much about AI, so I wanted to look into it. The first thing I did was I wanted to get some stats. So I asked Copilot, can you give me some stats on AI in construction? And these are the following stats, or what I came back with. 35% of construction companies are using AI to improve project management efficiency. I don't know, I'm not sure I really believe that, but maybe they are. Anyway, AI can reduce the construction timeline by up to 50%. Can reduce by up to. Very woolly. AI can reduce rework in construction projects by up to 30%. Well, that's a bit more realistic. But if if the timeline's gone down by half, surely your rework's getting a bit better than that. Predictive maintenance can reduce equipment downtime by 20%. That's a reasonable thing to say, I would think. AI can optimize project schedules to reduce costs by 15%. So we're doing a half the time for 85% of the price. I like where we're going here. I got one last one. It can enhance building energy efficiency by up to 20%. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And really what I got from that, and there's a link to the actual report that AI sent me to, or this World Metrics, it kind of doesn't even know itself what it's going to provide us, and we don't know what we're going to get out of it. And I think that's been a theme today is, we're just starting on a journey, let's see what happens, let's get there. And I think that's a very fair way to look at it. It's, from someone, I'm a mechanical engineer originally, or mechanical electrical engineer originally. I ended up in O&M software because of a recession, and now I've ended up looking after this kind of stuff. And I like it, but I'm not a software guy. And sometimes I'm standing up here speaking slightly out of my depth, so you'll have to excuse me for some of it. But this is a very opinion-led presentation on what I actually see going on in construction with AI, what I actually see. And as I say, we're really at the very beginning of it, so there's a lot of patience to be had. Oh, sorry, I have one last one to come up. AI can improve construction productivity by 40%. Again, maybe. But what's our government's opinion? And I'm surprised I haven't seen these papers today. They were released in June by the Department of Finance and Enterprise and Trade. 3 papers titled Artificial Intelligence, Friend or Foe, and it's the public policy considerations, how it can impact our economy, and what it can do to our labour market. I've read these, they're quite long, so the link is there, scan the QR code, the link is to them, but they're pretty good. A lot of research went into it, where they see AI affecting the country. They haven't selected construction, they've selected the country, the labour force, things like that. Really interesting read. A friend of mine, he works for the Department of Foreign Affairs, and he's head of, in Washington, bringing back information to the Irish government about AI. So they're really on it. They're looking at it. He's going out, he's meeting all the big guys, the Metas, things like that, and feeding information back to the Irish government. So we are looking at it. The reality is a lot of the data will be stored in our country anyway, in our data centres, things like that. So we have to stay on top of it. So they're well worth the read. But this is the most interesting bit out of them. So I pulled this out for you, so you don't have to read all those reports. You probably won't be able to see it properly, but the x-axis, all the dots are different jobs, different professions. The x-axis is how much those professions are exposed to AI, or likely to be exposed to AI. The y-axis is how complementary AI is to those roles and those professions. So if you're in the bottom left, and the one you can see there is launderers, dry cleaners, and pressers, you're not going to be exposed to AI. And it's not going to be complementary to your job because that's a manual task. If you're in the bottom right, and the lowest one there is the communication operators and telephonists, you're in trouble. AI is going to take your job. That's what that kind of says. And interestingly, as I say, this is very much a government thing. It's not about construction. Over here is plasterers. So they're not exposed, and it's not complementary. So they're saying AI isn't going to help plasterers. And if you take plasterers, you take basic trades on site, maybe not carpentry, but certainly bricklaying, steel fixing, things like that. AI is not going to necessarily help you. So that's interesting. Okay, so they don't think, well, this is the government's opinion, it's not necessarily my opinion, someone else's research I'm spouting out here. So that's one. And then up at the top right, so the most complementary and the most exposed person is construction project managers and related professionals. So we've got one industry, and we've got the least and the most affected by AI. And what's good about that is it's complementary. So it means it's going to help you with your job, not take over your job. So that's what we want to hear. So if you work on site, you have a shovel in your hand, you're not worried about it. If you work on site and you have a laptop in your hand, it's going to help you. This is good for construction industry, right? So I'm here, as a software vendor. So this is my project manager on site. We call him Stefan, the project manager, and it's going to help him. It's going to get that paper off his desk, and it's going to help him. And that's the idea. That's who it's going to help most on site. It's complementary to him. And I'll come back to that in a minute, why that's there. So what does that mean to Dalux and I suppose other software vendors? What does it mean if it's going to help project managers? What do we do about it? Well, we use AI as appropriate to make our tools better. And this is one thing that no one in the room is going to have direct involvement with this part of AI. We will develop our tools and we will use AI to help us make our tools better. Not necessarily to have an output of AI or use of AI in the use of the tool, but to make the tools better, to make us be able to build them more resiliently, quicker, and better. And that's kind of one main thing. But we'll continue to put the outcomes of the user to the fore. So we're still building this software or the tools for the users, for the project managers, for the guys on site. That's why we're building it, and that's who we're thinking of. And really, we just keep building software, and we use the best tools we can, and that's CoBuilder, that's whatever it is, ChatGPT, any AI, that's in the back end. And we keep it simple. That's the whole point of it. We just make our tools better and better, and if AI will help us do that, then we use it, and that's the approach of our company at the moment. I'm going to play a relatively short video, and I'll show you one point of outward-facing AI that our company uses that people in the room could use. So this is our site walk, and it's basically, we spoke about it, you walk around the site, camera on the head, it takes like a Google Street View video, and then it compares it to puts it side by side to the model, and you can go and look on your laptop or whatever, look back at the images, they're beside the model, and you can say, okay, well that duct isn't where it's meant to be. It's meant to be on the left. So I just create a task. Creates a workflow, tells someone the duct's in the wrong place, needs to be moved. Perfect. That's a great use of reality capture on site. And it was mentioned, you mentioned, Aidan, and I think you're absolutely right, that's where it's going to be. Someone gets the task, they're going to move that duct, that pipe, whatever it is. But just to go back to this image. So first of all, where we use AI, it's machine learning, I suppose. When you upload your site walk, it takes the model and it reads it. It understands how to read the two and match them. And that's the machine learning. There's some companies do it and they have to physically go in and adjust the images to match them. But we use a machine learning tool to make sure that they match up so that the wall is there in both the picture and in the 3D model, and it'll make sure it comes along. And it learns from your walks, because you do them, you're meant to do every week, what's what, it gets it all in the right place. And I suppose for me, and I think I'm on board with Aidan here, this is the kind of place where AI will become prevalent in construction. At the moment, I have to go in and select I have to, first of all, see that the duct is in the wrong place, and then I have to do something. I have to click on the screen and say, this is a problem. Really, AI in the future, I know there's companies that are doing parts of this, will say, it'll just create it automatically. It'll say, well, that's in the wrong place. It needs to be moved. Or if it's in 4D planning, that should be installed and it's not installed. And that's, I think, where AI is really going to be seen in construction, where people are going to see it on a day-to-day basis. They'll be able to say, well, there's the walkthrough of the project, and here's the list of things that should be finished that aren't, or that are in slightly the wrong place. Which is great. But I'm looking at that, and I worked for a mechanical contractor and stuff, and I'm saying, do we really need to move the duct? Is it that big a deal? Is it actually, am I going to just send the task to Dave to say, will you update the as-builts? Like, is that an easier thing to do? And there's a human interaction to say, well, I'm going to make a choice of what to happen here. It's not automated, that it's automatically going to come out. If you went out and did that, and it came back with a list of 5,000 changes that have to be made because your socket's out by 3 mil and stuff like that, that's going to cause its own issues. So there's a realism, and I'm sure artificial intelligence over time will work that out, and that's more data. But there's a reality of construction as well, where we have to use our experience to say, it's fine. Like, actually, I don't want the duct above the cable tray, because when I go to change it, it's going to cause an issue in the future. It's probably better off slightly offset there. And the guy on site, when he was putting in, and went, oh, the uni strut's hanging down for the cable tray already. I can't get the duct in there, so I'm just going to put it here. It's above the ceiling, what does it matter? And he's probably right. So there's a whole element of saying, well, what is appropriate? What automatically generated reports, tasks, things that I want, and how far do we want that to go? And it's just a discussion. I don't know. I don't have the answer. But I think from a software vendor's point of view, which is the title of my presentation, we have to be realistic. We have to say, well, what's actually needed on site? What's going to make a difference? What's better for the outcomes? Is a better outcome that a project manager gets a list of 500 things he has to change? Probably not. That's not a better outcome, but it could be done. But just because it can't be done, should it be done? I'm going to go back to Stefan, the project manager, the picture of the guy with all the paper on his desk, and that was actually, we had a company meeting recently, and it was in one of the presentations of that. And basically, they said, this is the guy, Stefan, the project manager, this is the guy we help. And the idea was that we go through the journey of using Dialogs, and at the end of it, he's happy. So Melta, who did the presentation, he took that photo and he put it into ChatGPT or Copilot or something, said, make this guy look happy and take away the paper. So it did. He never mentioned putting a dog in I think it's a pug, dressed up as an Ewok. No idea where that came from. Maybe that's what made that guy happy, but that's, we asked AI, make the guy look happy and remove the paper. And he gave him some Pepsi and a dog. There's got to be a certain element of, okay, well, we're at the frontier here. Maybe don't trust every report that comes in. Let's be a little bit pragmatic and say, okay, let's use it where appropriate. And I've spoken to people, great use of it. I was talking to a guy in one of the big, huge engineering firms. He goes, do you know what AI is brilliant for? It's working out Excel formulas. He goes, if you can't figure out how to do something in Excel, just ask AI. So that's a brilliant use of AI. And it's a personal use. It's not necessarily, it's nothing to do with construction. But that's, I suppose the individual has things they need to do or gaps in their knowledge, and they can use it for that. But as a software vendor, we have to be very careful, because if we get this wrong, we go, oh, you don't have to do any of that now. And someone goes, oh, well, it caused this one issue and it contractually blew up. We're done. So software vendors, we will use it as appropriate. We have to be careful, but we'll just drip feed. I think we're all a bit scared of it, a little bit. But yeah, anyway, all my opinions and for what they're worth. Last thing, I'm going to just do a little bit of selling. If anyone wants to go to Copenhagen in November, we're having a great event. It's free and it's a lot of fun. So there'll be a couple of thousand people there learning about where we're going as a company. And please, if anyone would like to go to that, you're more than welcome. And that's me. Thank you very much.